15 years of marriage. Gu Yunzhou has been keeping a flamboyant young woman on the side. She came to me, cradling her belly, demanding to be given her rightful place. I'm old and faded, with one foot in the grave. I don't even have a son to see me off. What right do you have to cling to the title of madam? I asked her with great interest. The Gu Yunzhou standing behind her. Tell her, what right? He didn't dare speak. Because if I, a general's fierce daughter, turn on him, his little darling won't even dare cry too loudly. On the 15th of every month, without fail, I accompany old Madame Gu to Huguo Temple to pray for blessings. In her twilight years, she has too many attachments she can't let go of. She entrusts them all to the gods and ancestors. From the blazing sun high in the sky until it sinks in the west. I, having no regrets in life, and nothing left to ask for, sneak off early to the backyard pavilion to listen to the wind and watch the clouds, to pass the time. But in the pavilion where I often brew tea, I happened upon an interesting young lady, holding a bowl of bird's nest porridge served by her maid, her eyes curved into smiles. He's always worrying over nothing. Such a grand temple as Huguo, how could it let me and his son go hungry? Speaking as if by chance, she stroked her still flat belly. Her face was radiant with the tenderness and joy of a first-time mother. Noticing my gaze, she gave me an embarrassed nod. Then she asked casually, Madam, how old are your children now? Did they ever trouble you? Keep you up at night, like the little rascal in my belly? Every noblewoman in the capital knows that I, Shen Qingyan, am barren. Those who dare come to my door to court misfortune are few and far between. Yet her eyes held nothing but sincerity, eagerly awaiting my reply. I gave a faint smile, and answered very politely. I lack such fortune. I've never borne children. She let out a sigh that seemed regretful. What a shame. Being a mother is a joyful thing. Seeing my faint smile and lack of response, she continued on her own. Huguo Temple is very effective for praying for a child. If a couple comes together to hang a prayer bag, their wish is sure to be granted. I'm here to give thanks because my wish came true. You should try it, madam. My heart clenched. I looked at her deeply. It's not that I can't bear children, but my husband doesn't want them either. Otherwise, taking a few concubines wouldn't be difficult. Her smile froze. She forced a smile. The master must love you very much, then. Yes. Gu Yunzhou once loved me deeply. In the 3rd year of our marriage, when the imperial physician declared I could bear no heirs, I tentatively offered to step down. Gu Yunzhou stormed into the palace like a madman. Kneeling before me with bloodshot eyes, he swore, I want only Qingyan. I'd rather have no heir. If I ever betray you, may I die a wretched death. I came to terms with it. All these years, I never let the lack of children trouble me, and he kept his promise. Not a single new woman entered his household. Time flew by. Before I knew it, half my life was gone. And now, a young girl uses the issue of heirs to stab me right in the heart. It's truly laughable. As I helped the old lady go down the mountain, that girl happened to board the carriage sent for her. The carriage was spacious and luxurious, no less than the Grand Tutor's residence. Her maids and servants attended to her meticulously. Every word and action followed the master's instructions. She too was a woman cherished by her husband, but a trinket hanging high in the carriage corner caught my eye. It was the peace talisman old lady Gu begged Gu Yunzhou to take last month, urging him to carry it always. The very one he claimed he'd lost, and didn't know where it was. Old Lady Gu clearly saw it too. She quickly stepped in front of me. Qingyan, I'm feeling a bit tired. Could you help me rest over there for a moment? I averted my gaze, pretending I hadn't seen that woman's blatant challenge. All right, at our age, maintaining dignity is paramount. A young girl wouldn't understand, but as the lady of the house, I must. When Gu Yunzhou returned, I was holding a book on military strategy, pondering over the 36 stratagems. Winning without bloodshed, attacking the heart without force. Why are you reading military books again? He casually took the book from my hands and caught hold of mine. You must be exhausted today. Did you miss me? I stared at him, lost in thought, trying to find any flaw on that face time had been kind to. But there was none. Having navigated treacherous waters for over a decade, he was steady and seasoned. He was no longer that young man who wore his heart on his sleeve. His affectionate gaze was filled with nothing but devotion for me. Yet, a small stain on the wide sleeve of his blue robe betrayed him. While he wasn't looking, I rubbed it between my fingers and smelled it. Crab roe. That woman had once told her maid with a beaming face, my husband can't stand the smell of crab. But it's my favorite. He promised me that when I returned to the manor today, he'd reward me with a whole bowl of fat crab meat he shelled himself. He came back so late because he was shelling crab for her. I used to love crab meat too. Before I married Gu Yunzhou, my father and brothers would roll up their sleeves and shell a full bowl of crab meat for me. Later, Gu Gu Yunzhou said he couldn't stand the smell of crab. Even from a distance, the smell would make him sick to his stomach. For his sake, I never ate crab again. To this day, while I was compromising for love, he had already learned to be tolerant within love, to be thoughtfully tolerant of another person's preferences and habits. Actually, that kind of blatant affection I once had it too. Back then, I wasn't his wife yet. I mentioned offhandedly that the mung bean cakes from my maternal grandmother's house were the softest and most fragrant, and not too sweet. It's a pity they were so far away. Who knows when I'd get to eat them again. So he rode alone, day and night, for 4 whole days to bring back those mung bean cakes. As someone doted on by my father and brother, I never lacked love. But my heart still fluttered for that young man's sincere and passionate care. So many years have passed. The way Gu Yunzhou loves someone hasn't changed one bit. It's just that the one being loved is no longer me. My heart feels heavy. My eyes sting. They were all crushed. His hand, stroking my long hair, paused. What? I smiled. That year, the mung bean cakes you brought me while clutching your chest still ended up turning to crumbs from the long, bumpy journey. Gu Yunzhou, tell me, if we had a child, would things be more complete? His eyes, meeting mine, shifted away guiltily. Stop overthinking. If you want mung bean cakes, I'll send someone to buy them for you tomorrow. Times have changed. I stopped eating mung bean cakes long ago. Only a naive young girl can be so easily delighted by a simple treat. As for me, I can't be bothered searching for traces of love where there is none. He thought I didn't know. Half an hour ago, he went to his mother's courtyard. He wanted to give the woman outside and that unborn child a legitimate status. And his mother replied with 4 words, remove the mother, keep the child. Sir, there's urgent business at the academy. Gu Yunzhou glanced at me indifferently. Rest early, madam. I'll be back soon. He won't be coming back. That was that woman's warning to me. I immediately summoned Shao Si, the guard I brought from my maternal family, a man who scouts military intelligence on the battlefield. If he wants to know something, there's little he can't find out. Find out where the master has been going lately. Keep it quiet. Don't alert anyone. He looked at me, quite surprised. Gu Yunzhou and I have been married for 15 years. We've been playing together since we were kids. All in all, we've been together for 30 years. I would sooner suspect my powerful father and brothers of treason than believe Gu Yunzhou would betray me. That's precisely why having that trust betrayed, stabbed in the back by the closest person, hurts all the more. The back gate of Wenshu Temple has a carriage he keeps on standby. If you follow it now, it should be easy to trace. Once a person accepts reality and sets emotions aside, the mind becomes exceptionally clear. Gu Yunzhou spends every day at Wenshu Temple. So how could he possibly keep a living person hidden right under my nose? Most likely, he used the temple as a cover to slip away. My guess was right. In just a few days, information about the girl he's hiding in the West City, even her family history for 3 generations back, was all laid out on my desk. It turns out she's the daughter of my elder brother's former deputy, Lu Ruowei, now in the bloom of youth. She was riding outside the capital and fell right into Lord Gu's arms. Life is hard for a concubine's daughter, bullied relentlessly by her legitimate sister and the mistress. She rode out of the city seeking a way out. Gu Yunzhou took pity on her, so much pity, it led him to her bed. He bought her a 3-courtyard house, with more maids and servants than I have. A young girl's love is bold and possessive. She's always desperate to prove she's more important than the old, fated first wife. So on my birthday, she came down with a high fever. On the anniversary of my father and brother's deaths, she fell into the water. When I held a banquet, her house caught fire. Time and again, she forced Gu Yunzhou to choose her over me. She even knew I had a southern pearl hairpin, a gift from Empress Mei. So she pestered Gu Yunzhou for a pair of southern pearl earrings. Even though it wasn't pearl harvesting season, and southern pearls are reserved for the palace, the ever-prudent Grand Tutor still managed it. He spent a fortune to find her an enormous pair of pearls. It took 3 months for him to personally set them into earrings. A birthday gift for Lu Ruowei. Lu Ruowei once bragged to her legitimate sister, that old woman doesn't deserve such precious things. Only someone as young and fresh as me can do them justice. Over and over, she outshone the old woman, time after time, proving her love reigned supreme, and Gu Yunzhou was fully aware and indulgent of it all along. Even though I saw it coming, the truth of a changed heart is still cruel and sickening, and it still aches. Deep down, our youthful affection has finally turned to swallowing needles and swords. But I, Shen Qingyan, have never been one to suffer losses quietly. You give me a needle's point, I'll return it with a blade. A pair of pearl earrings. I have bigger ones too. It's just that he made me pick up what someone else didn't want. Last year, before my birthday, Gu Yunzhou pestered me for a long time. He kept asking me about the popular earring styles in the capital, their designs and craftsmanship. I couldn't stand his persistence, so I asked him what he was up to. He rubbed his nose and mumbled sheepishly, I just wanted to make a pair of earrings for my wife with my own hands. Why couldn't you just pretend not to know? I stayed up all night explaining everything to him in detail. He listened attentively. He told me to wait for his good news. My heart was filled with joy, eagerly awaiting his surprise. On my birthday, what he gave me was a pair of jade bracelets. I asked him about the earrings. His face stiffened. He hung his head. My skills aren't good enough. Better not embarrass myself. He poured his heart into someone else. All I got was a half-hearted effort. Those bracelets were only brought to me after that young lady gave her permission. I wore them every day, thinking they were full of affection, but they were just another person's insult to me. Even further back, he went on official business and took her to live in the south for half a year. During those 6 months, he took her on a night cruise on the Qinhuai River. He carried her up to the peak of Huangshan Mountain, and on the vast Yangtze River, he held her in his arms and held her close all night. All the places I had once excitedly shown him, he revisited them all, with his beautiful new love. The old nanny who used to make osmanthus cakes for us, her eyesight failing, her mind not what it used to be, after asking about me, congratulated him on finally getting his wish, finally having a daughter. She even looks a bit like your wife, she said. The young lady stiffened her neck. I'm not her daughter. That old woman who brings misfortune to her family. How could she have such good fortune? And what did Gu Yunzhou say? Oh, he smiled, tapped her nose, and laughed. She's a petty, jealous little thing. Getting jealous over nothing. Why bring up someone else's sore spot? You just give me a few more children, that's all. So I'm the someone else, who doesn't matter. His words were like a heavy, stinging slap, shattering the youthful affection I once held. Lu Ruowei received a love that was both clear and overwhelming. So she proudly said to the servants, what does that old, fated woman have to compete with me? Once I give birth to the Grand Tutor's firstborn son, even if she has to swallow a fly, she'll have to obediently welcome me into the mansion, serve me well, and raise my son properly. That young girl hung my child's prayer plaque around a dog's neck. Pouting smugly, she asked Gu Yunzhou, what about that old woman in the other courtyard? Gu Yunzhou paused, his tone softening further. It doesn't matter. In the long river of time, we have drifted into a relationship that's not even worth mentioning. Our paths diverged, and we went our separate ways. I have no regrets. What I hate is that Gu Yunzhou trampled on my feelings. What I hate is that they humiliated my child. The abbot clearly said, the prayer plaque must stay with the parents to pray for a wealthy and peaceful afterlife for the wronged child. Yet he allowed others to hang it on a dog's neck for amusement. As parents, we plan for our children's distant future, even for lifetimes to come. All I can say is, Gu Yunzhou is not worthy of being my child's father. The rain was heavy that night. I sat alone under the corridor, clutching the past, half my body soaked. The chill and heartache almost tore me apart. Meanwhile, my so-called husband was in another courtyard, listening to the rain and sipping tea with his young girl, gazing into their future. Holding her, he whispered gently, Mother said, if things truly come to a breaking point, the Gu family absolutely cannot be left without an heir. Then we must be ruthless and keep the child, not the mother. The one to go is the legitimate wife, the one to stay is our beloved son. After hearing Xiao Xi's word-for-word report, my heart felt clenched, suffocating me. I should have realized it sooner. 15 years. People change. The Gu family had long been weighed down by the Shen family's life-saving debt, and had long harbored resentment, but held back due to fear of gossip, and never used the issue of heirs against me. But now, with a legitimate heir within reach, how could they possibly let go? And the Gu Yunzhou of today is no longer that bright young man who would ride 1,000 miles for a plate of mung bean cakes. What he couldn't let go of was the family fortune I brought. What he couldn't bear was people laughing behind his back about having no son to carry on his line. What he craved was a youthful body, and the sense of achievement from being adored and admired. Wanting to have it both ways, that's just too greedy. Even if the inner courtyard has worn down my edges, it was never to compromise, to swallow bitterness for the sake of a perfect facade. That pair of jade bracelets, I smashed them in the pouring rain. Our feelings are shattered. The fault is not mine, and the one who should pay is not me. It's the betrayer who deserves to swallow 1,000 needles. At the break of dawn, Gu Yunzhou returned to the manor, chilled to the bone. That girl left a mark on Gu Yunzhou's neck, a glaring love bite. I pointed at that disgusting red mark, and teased, that girl outside has some nerve. She probably doesn't know the Shen family's nature. She could vanish halfway, without even knowing why. Gu Yunzhou looked at the bracelet I had smashed. His brow twitched. I accidentally ate peanuts. Just a rash. How could the bracelet just break for no reason? I replied with a faint smile. Jade is fragile, not as resilient as an Eastern pearl. In comparison, I still prefer Eastern pearls. His gaze darkened, searching my face for an answer. I remained unmoved. I simply handed him the medicinal broth his mother drinks daily. Golden gardenia jade is too precious. Now that Consort Shen is with child, she needs it for herself. I can't ask for more. Please go see mother about it. After all, 1,000 acts of care and caution can't outweigh a single moment of dissatisfaction. That's all it takes to lose hearts. Gu Yunzhou and I faced off for a long moment. Only then did he take the medicine bowl. Attending to mother has always been your forte. Fine. Since you've come to me, I'll make the trip for you. Watching his tall, imposing figure step out the door, I casually added, filial devotion is always for oneself. My 15 years of dedication were simply because I never saw you as outsiders. You shouldn't have forgotten that. Gu Yunzhou turned back, startled, but I held my teacup, not even sparing him a glance. He went to his mother's courtyard with a belly full of questions. Another hour of scheming. If he knew that the medicine I've been bringing day and night was meant to end his mother's life, would he still be smiling? Xiaoxi had never seen the hatred in my eyes, the crimson fury. Hidden in the darkness, he didn't show himself. I didn't even know where he was standing. That girl outside is making such a spectacle. She's given me so many warnings. Shouldn't I send a gift in return? I recall Deputy General Liu has a temper. Impatient, can't stand any nonsense. His daughter making such a disgraceful scene. Shouldn't he do something? Like a breeze rustling the treetops, a slight tremble told me Xiaoxi was gone. That night, under his mother's warning, Gu Yunzhou grew wary of me, fearing that the young girl he had hidden would slip up and be harmed by me. So he no longer dared to go to the West City. But that girl was too naive, sending for him again and again. Seeing Gu Yunzhou's absent-mindedness and frequent distractions, he didn't even notice the ink blot from his writing brush. I then put down my brush. If you have something to do, you can go attend to it first. Trying to do two things at once like this will only result in losing both. His face froze, and he anxiously collected his thoughts. No, I specifically set aside a day to accompany you. He said so, but in less than half an hour, amid the servants' panic and hesitation, he made an excuse to leave the mansion for urgent business, and threw the half-copied sutra for our child to me. Watching his hurried back as he was about to step out of the courtyard, I couldn't help but shout, "The road is slippery on rainy days. Be careful with every step." After all, at our age, it's already hard to be careful in everything. If you really take a big fall, you'll lose everything. His back paused for a moment, but he still left resolutely. I withdrew my gaze, my tone icy. I hope you'll be foolish for love. Gu Yunzhou did not end up being foolish. His young girl was stopped on the street by his legal wife and the sisters in the mansion, forced to kneel and slapped repeatedly, her pretty face quickly disfigured. The foul language from the onlookers bended the girl worthless. Like mother, like daughter, both are sluts who climb into bed. Pity she doesn't have her mother's luck. Lady Liu is generous, giving her the status of a concubine, unlike her being an outside mistress, flaunting herself all day. If she hadn't gotten into a dispute with the minister's daughter, who would have known that in the most prosperous courtyard in the West City lived a seductive outside mistress? The Liu family is, after all, a military family. How could they produce such a thing? In an ordinary family, she would have been hanged to uphold family discipline. When she used the backyard shackles to lock me up, she probably never imagined that she would also have a day when the blade of societal judgment would scrape her bones and cut her flesh. The young girl was scolded mercilessly, biting her lip, tears welling up in her eyes, her long hair disheveled, delicate and frail. Towards Gu Yunzhou in the crowd, she cast a pleading glance. Although Gu Yunzhou clenched his fists, he did not risk his future and the Gu family's reputation to play the hero and save the beauty. Instead, he hurriedly sought help from the playboy heir, Qinfeng, Lord Qin, and sent a plea for help. The curses and slaps landed on the young girl's face, but reddened Lord Gu's eyes. By the time Lord Qin arrived to rescue the girl, that once vibrant and radiant face, always feigning fragility, was already beyond recognition. Gu Yunzhou had long since, heartbroken, brought a physician, and waited in the small courtyard. I sat in the tea house upstairs, counting each slap one by one, until it reached 100, then added 20 more. Only then did I feel slightly relieved. This old woman has nothing else. Just a few more tricks up her sleeve, and a heart a bit more cruel. The Liu family's reputation is upright. Gave Liu Ruowei a choice between hanging herself and cutting ties. Liu Ruowei chose the latter. With a face swollen like a pig's head, and the pointing fingers of others, she had no choice but to pretend to be unconscious, and was carried back to the courtyard in the West City. From then on, everything she was proud of was branded with labels of theft and disgrace. But she still didn't know. That face, in slap after slap, was completely ruined. Madame Liu is a decisive woman. After realizing that disgrace was inevitable, she chose to sacrifice the small to preserve the whole. The marriages of the Liu daughters, the futures of the men, all in the poisoned slaps, were brought to a satisfactory conclusion. When Gu Yunzhou returned to his residence in despair, as I poured tea for him, I chatted with him with a smile about the gossip. At such a young age, not learning properly, becoming someone's mistress. Now she's lost all dignity and face. I'm I'm afraid even a concubine from a respectable family is more virtuous than her. Logically speaking, Chin Feng doesn't like the type from brothels. How could he take a liking to her? Anyone with eyes should know that such shameless behavior reveals what kind of upbringing and background she has. To have mingled with her on West Street for 3 years, he must be blind as well. He couldn't bear to listen any longer. With a thud, he slammed down the teacup. Madam has never been one to gossip. How can she be like those gossipy women on the street, discussing others' rights and wrongs? I grabbed his hand. As he saw the bloodstain on his sleeve, his pupils contracted, and he instinctively pulled back. I held on tightly, wiping him down with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. I just feel sorry for the lady of the house. A big lump of it smacked right on his face. It's the sheer disgust of it that I'll never get over. Gu Yunzhou's body trembled, but I suddenly looked up and met his gaze. My husband wouldn't subject me to such disgust, would he? After all, I've never been the gentle, kind type. Gu Yunzhou forced a stiff smile. Of course not. Our bond is beyond compare. Mother needs her medicine. I'll be right back. He fled in a panic. I poured the tea he drank onto the floor. Our bond was shattered long ago. She's the one who holds your heart now. That little girl is hateful, but the dog who betrays its master is the one truly beyond forgiveness. Gu Yunzhou hadn't left the estate for many days. That little girl used medicine worth a fortune, but it didn't save her. That pretty face of hers left Gu Yunzhou frantic with worry. Finally, while I was busy praying for our child, he secretly left the estate to offer her his comfort. In a private room at the Drunken Fragrance Pavilion, the girl, veiled, wept and sniffled. She threw herself into Gu Yunzhou's arms, clinging and whining. Didn't you say I was soft and sweet, that you wished you could be all over me? How could you bear to stay away from my chamber for days? Do you hate the scar on my face now? Gu Yunzhou hurriedly soothed her. Nonsense. Even with a scar, you're still my irreplaceable treasure. The girl softly wrapped her arms around his neck. Sleeping next to that old woman, doesn't it disgust you? Don't you miss me? Do you know how much I've missed you? Silly. In my heart and eyes, there's only you and our child. It's a temporary measure. Please bear with it a little longer. She's a tigress from a military family. I must be cautious to keep you from the tiger's jaws. He coaxed her, gentle and attentive. He shredded the roast duck into strips and meticulously arranged them on her plate. Then, smiling, he fed her bite by bite. The girl, having gotten her treat, smiled, the corners of her mouth curling up. Now, don't you dare go and get yourself eaten by a tigress. You're mine, all mine. As she spoke, she stood up, lifting the hem of her skirt and twirling. What do you think of my outfit? Worthy of these pearl earrings? They say these pearls are bigger and brighter than eyeballs. Next time we're intimate, I'll have you take them off with your tongue. Gu Yunzhou's hand, tearing into a duck leg, froze. He pulled her into his arms. Just as he was about to lean in and bite her red lips, he looked up and saw me standing at the door, smiling. He was so terrified, his whole body went stiff. He stared blankly at my smiling face, his expression full of panic. The young woman was still pouting, snuggling into his arms and acting coy. You're being ridiculous. This is far too embarrassing. Then don't blame me if I bite you quietly, just like I did on the boat. Don't blame me if the old woman finds out. Sensing Gu Yunzhou's stiffness and trembling, she also opened her eyes with a playful scold. But the moment she saw me, her face froze. She hid behind Gu Yunzhou. The scar on her face was traced with a pattern, a lifelike butterfly blooming on her cheek. It actually added a touch of alluring charm. Her seductive techniques are something a high society matron could study for a lifetime. No wonder Gu Yunzhou can't get enough of her. I walked closer step by step. Amid Gu Yunzhou's fear, I opened my palm. You gave my pearls to her. Can I have them back today? I was perfectly calm, even with a hint of a smile on my lips. But Gu Yunzhou's pupils constricted. Almost instantly, he shielded Lu Ru away. He stammered at me. Qingyan, what are you doing here? Have you had lunch? Would you like something to eat? The young woman bit her lip timidly, clutching the hem of Gu Yunzhou's robe. As if afraid I wouldn't notice the nature of her relationship with Gu Yunzhou, I asked again, will you return them? Before Gu Yunzhou could say anything, Lu Ruowei dropped to her knees before me. She was tugging at my sleeve, crying as if she'd lost her mother. It's all my fault. Sister, please don't blame my husband. It was me who insisted on a pair of oriental pearl earrings as a birthday gift. I forced him to spend thousands of taels of silver to get these 2 pearls. If I had known they were your most treasured possession, I would have returned them to you. Fine. Her hand, pretending to remove the earrings, paused. She looked at me in disbelief. In an instant, I grabbed the 2 large oriental pearls. Amid her startled gasp, I ruthlessly yanked the pair of earrings off. Shh. But I, expressionless, placed a blood-stained finger against her lips. Princess Jiaying and the princess are having tea next door. If they were to find out that the Grand Tutor, who took leave, refused to teach the Crown Prince, but instead is carousing with his mistress, who's scorned by the entire capital, living it up. The Gu family and your husband would both be finished. The young girl's face turned deathly pale. Even Gu Yunzhou, who was furious, lost his bluster. Staring at their pallid faces, I curled the corner of my lips, but my eyes were colder than ice. You should know, Lord Gu, that what belongs to me, Shen Qingyan, is not for others to touch. Amid his astonishment, I raised my hand and threw the soiled oriental pearl earrings out the window. If someone else has touched it, I'd rather destroy it than keep it. I won't let it offend my sight. His body trembled. He wanted to say something, but I cut him off. Tell your little girl not to call me sister so freely. Having this filth thrown in my face is disgusting enough. Did you expect me to cherish it? I turned, leaned down, and grabbed the young girl who was biting her lip, tears in her eyes. Next time you send a message calling me to watch your little show, you can be a bit more open about it. I can bring a few more people to catch your husband in the act. Then, in a voice only the two of us could hear, I whispered, his skills in bed are only good enough for someone like you. You'll swallow anything. She, whom I had thrown harshly to the ground, under Gu Yunzhou's cold gaze, even covered her mouth to stifle her sobs, afraid of disturbing anyone. Gu Yunzhou shifted slightly, wanting to approach me, but under my murderous glare, he didn't dare move an inch. The filth of having touched something so vile. Actually, the little girl never sent anyone to find me, but since she disgusted me, I naturally used Gu Yunzhou's hand to slap her face. But that's not the most important thing. After all, it's the unfaithful man who deserves the damnation. Punching down on the weak, and being soft on those in power, has never been the Shen family's style on the battlefield. Half an hour later, Gu Yunzhou stormed into my courtyard. Princess Zhaoyang and the princess weren't even at the tavern. You lied. I just gave a nonchalant oh. Then I must have been mistaken. Who knows? Gu Yunzhou was trembling with rage. Why must you be so aggressive? You humiliated Ruwei and made her miscarry. Are you happy now? I looked up, puzzled. Does a mistress slapped in public even have any face left to save? Lord Gu, do you know who the woman is? The one who was scorned and brought shame to the Liu family? Whose child is she carrying? And who will end up being laughed at just like her? His face paled in panic, but he grew even more self-righteous. I don't understand what you're talking about. In any case, you sent people to confront Ruwei. Causing her to miscarry was wrong of you. I couldn't help but let out a scoff. So when she threw herself into my husband's arms and whispered in your ear, that was perfectly fine? Fine, it's all my fault. I should have just closed my eyes and looked away. It was quite the eyesore, after all. Gu Yunzhou was left speechless. He frowned and glared at me coldly. A man out in society has to socialize and play along sometimes. It's unavoidable. Why must you nitpick so much? It's beneath your status. All these years, even though you've borne no children, the Gu family hasn't taken in another woman. You should be content. Anyone else would have divorced you and remarried long ago. He was filled with a chilling hostility I had never seen before. Not a trace of guilt or gratitude remained in his eyes. So I dropped my pleasant facade as well. So you kabongdi me. So you want to be that? Anyone else too? Keep a mistress, and even give her child the status of a legitimate heir? The resentment I'd been holding back could no longer be contained. It turned into a cold roar. If your Gu family hadn't been in trouble back then, and I hadn't ridden 1,000 miles to the border to beg my father and brothers for help, would the child in my womb have miscarried? The life-saving debt my Shen family owes your Gu family now has become the blade you, Gu Yunzhou, turn against me. You're really taking biting the hand that feeds you and playing the petty villain to the extreme. No one asked you to do any of that. Holding a favor over someone's head, I've repaid it with half my life. You shouldn't force my Gu family to die out now. We parted on bad terms. Gu Yunzhou then scurried off to his mother's courtyard. Shao Si stepped forward. If you wish to divorce, even if the master and young master are gone, the Shen family will never let you suffer. I scoffed and shook my head. Everything the Gu family has now was earned by my father and brother through their military merits. If I leave, I should return them to their original state. I looked away. I let out a sigh. 10 more days. Then I won't have to endure this anymore. Before that, I should first get rid of the Gu family's strategist. After all, without that old fox, old Madame Gu, dealing with the inexperienced Gu Yunzhou would be as easy as crushing an ant. When you're stuck in mud, you should pull yourself out in time. Cut your losses early. Holding on to past affection only traps your present self. Who can guarantee their feelings will always be smooth sailing? You can trip even while walking. How much more so when you pin your whole life on another person? I'll never regret the choices I made back then. After all, the 15-year-old Gu Yunzhou truly and sincerely loved the 15-year-old Qingyan. The 15-year-old Qingyan simply made the choice she most wanted to make at that age. What's wrong with loving someone? Just because you made a wrong choice when you were young, does that mean you deserve to be utterly destroyed? The real mistake is knowing you're wrong and stubbornly staying on that path. I was having tea at the tea house. Accompanying me was my close friend, Princess Zhaoyang. If you're wronged, Don't just endure it. At worst, get a divorce. If the Shen family can't support you, I will. I couldn't help but laugh. Divorce and give the position of madam to someone else? As long as I hold this position, no matter who it is, it won't be easy for them to enter this household. After all, back then, my life-saving favor to the Gu family was known throughout the capital. The Gu family swore to the heavens to be completely devoted to me. For a new woman to enter, unless she also has a life-saving favor for the Gu family. Princess Zhaoyang shook her head. Unless she has a life-saving favor for the old madam. Then, using filial piety to pressure you, they could force you, Qingyan, to lower your head, and let the new woman into the household. Otherwise, any act of betrayal once impeached, Gu Yunzhou losing his official position would be the least of it. I fear the entire Gu family would find it hard to hold their heads up again. I smiled. That's exactly right. Lu Ruowei, listening from behind the door, took it to heart. So she and Gu Yunzhou hatched a plan. When old Madame Gu left the city to worship Buddha, they would stage a fake life-saving favor. Old Madame Gu, whom I usually accompanied, not only refused my company, but to avoid any loose ends, only took 2 old maids from her dowry with her. Gu Yunzhou watched his mother's back as she boarded the carriage. A smile he couldn't hide played on his lips. Thanks to mother's monthly worship, she has secured for the Gu family over a decade of peace and prosperity. I smiled but didn't respond. For 15 years, the Shen family's protection and my meticulous efforts were credited to divine blessings in Gu Yunzhou's mouth. Well, let's see if gods or Buddhas will protect his mother from the calamity today. Without needing to pray to any gods, I entered the imperial palace. I spent the day drinking tea and admiring flowers with my cousin, Consort Shen. Consort Shen was with child, so she was especially cautious. She allowed no disturbances while I kept her company. So when I returned home under the fading sunset, the news that the old madam had fallen into water and was in critical condition finally reached my ears. Even though I rushed back immediately with the imperial physician, it was too late to save old Madame Gu from facial paralysis and partial body numbness. The physician lamented that the old madam had switched her gold gardenia jade for silver gardenia jade. While their efficacy was similar, the latter had many taboos. Especially, she must not get cold. Now her body was soaked in cold water, and treatment was delayed. From now on, she must be carefully nursed. She absolutely cannot have strong emotional fluctuations. Otherwise, there will be no saving her. The physician left. I ignored the icy fury on Gu Yunzhou's face. Mother was just going to worship Buddha. How could she fall into the water for no reason? Gu Yunzhou opened his mouth, but said nothing. After all, in their scheme, bandits would block the road, and Lu Ruowei would heroically intervene. She'd suffer some superficial wounds, but would completely protect old Madame Gu. The life-saving favor would be accomplished. I'd have no choice but to grit my teeth and let her into the manor. But who knew the bandits blocking the road were real? Seeing the situation turn bad, Lu Ruowei fled the scene. Old Madame Gu was saved by her old maid, who jumped into the water, risking her life. Luckily, she knew how to swim. Otherwise, the entire Gu household would be draped in mourning white today. Gu Yunzhou was seething with rage, with nowhere to vent it. Using official business as an excuse, he went to the west side of the city. That night, cries were heard from the courtyard in the west. The young girl in the ear box pleaded for mercy on her knees. Only later did she point the finger at me. It's Shen Qingyan. It was all her scheme. If she hadn't lured me into the Gu residence using a life-saving debt, and then killed all the people I hired in that dilapidated temple, the old madam wouldn't have been injured. My lord, you must believe me. I truly ran away only to protect our child. I had no other choice. She's the one who wants to get rid of the old madam, and use your hand to eliminate me and our son. You mustn't fall for her trap. Gu Yunzhou's hand gripping the cup was taut with veins. What a piece of work, Shen Qingyan. All these years, I've underestimated you. Since you show no mercy, don't blame me for being ruthless. I couldn't help but sneeze. Must be a dog thinking of me. How unlucky. Gu Yunzhou, fearing his little darling would fall victim to my schemes, surrounded her with layers of protection, and kept her guarded in the West City courtyard. I shrugged, and said indifferently, when someone else is willing to do the dirty work, why should I dirty my own hands? There are still 2 days left. I can wait. But Gu Yunzhou couldn't. That very night, using the excuse of accompanying the Crown Prince's studies, he left the residence. I firmly held down old Madame Gu's leg that wasn't paralyzed. As tears of pain streamed down her face, I smiled and said, your son is working day and night for the family's future and grand plans. He's tirelessly busy. You shouldn't be so clingy, mother. She whimpered and sobbed, watching helplessly as Gu Yunzhou departed. Gu Xuanning, the concubine-born daughter I brought home, with a cold sneer, poured the scalding medicinal broth down old Madame Gu's throat. Tears rolling down her face, old Madame Gu pleaded with her eyes. But Gu Xuanning showed no mercy. I was worn down and trampled by my husband's family, treated like a beast of burden. It was truly a living hell. All thanks to the wonderful marriage you arranged for your brother's benefit. I wanted a divorce. A simple nod from you would have sufficed. I would have been eternally grateful, but you had to drive me to the brink. Shen Qingyan was right. God helps those who help themselves. Once I've finished taking care of you, she will grant me my freedom, so you must behave. Don't make things difficult for me, and don't distract my brother. After all, his grand plan to kill must not be delayed. Old Madame Gu was terrified, but she couldn't utter a single word. I exchanged a look with Gu Xuening. In each other's eyes, we saw the same determination. That night, the courtyard was anything but peaceful. After a cup of tea, I passed out. The maid who had served me for 10 years quietly dismissed all the other servants. Then she opened the back gate. When she brought the scabby-headed man into my room, she found the bed empty. Panicked, she threw back the covers, but I was standing behind her, smiling. Looking for me? The moment the scabby man turned in surprise, I knocked him out with a chop to the neck. Then, the lights blazed on, illuminating the pale face of the maid Wanqing. Madam, what is the meaning of this? Why gather everyone in the middle of the night? The whole courtyard is here. Gu Xuening stepped forward from the crowd. To catch a traitor, of course. You shouldn't have followed your sister's example, showing no loyalty to your mistress. Sister Qingyan is not my aunt. Your schemes won't touch her. Before Wanqing could argue further, she was bound and dragged away. When Gu Yunzhou rushed over with a lantern to catch me in the act, Xuening and I were playing chess by the lamp. With one final move, I had her completely defeated. Sister's planning is as sharp as ever. Thinking 5 steps ahead, I concede defeat, wholeheartedly. Gu Yunzhou froze outside the door. His loving eyes searched the room. A slight smile touched my lips. I asked deliberately, "Husband, are you looking for Wanqing?" Flustered, he said, "No, not at all. I just saw the lights were on in your courtyard, and came to check. Since all is well, I'll retire to my study." Wait, he turned back. Wanqing was caught in bed with an outsider, committing adultery. She broke the household rules. Household punishment has been carried out. With that, I clapped my hands. A body was carried before Gu Yunzhou. He recoiled 3 steps in horror, and couldn't help but vomit into the pile of gore. If I hadn't been prepared, that pile of flesh would have been me. A noblewoman who loses her virtue rarely gets to live like her, a young girl. It's exceedingly rare. Even seeking a divorce in this world is an uphill battle. I am not the one at fault. Why should I bear a tarnished reputation and bring shame upon my family's younger generation? Therefore, Gu Yunzhou and I are destined for a fight to the end. I waved my hand with a cold smile, and he was carried out. I sent the adulterer to the authorities. After all, he came from my courtyard. I had to find out the details. Gu Yunzhou's expression changed drastically. No, meeting my profound gaze, he awkwardly explained it was a matter of household privacy. How could it be exposed to the public? For the sake of propriety, you should quickly have him stopped, madam. After a beating, we can preserve our reputation. You're right, husband. However, dealing with the authorities is something you've always been good at. Why don't you go handle it? He clenched his fist and gritted his teeth in agreement. With my Shen family's orders, Gu Yunzhou and the official circles would only meet with failure at every turn. The esteemed Grand Tutor Gu found it nearly impossible to get someone out of the imperial prison. He was overwhelmed, afraid his secret would be exposed. I took advantage of his busy schedule to meet his little lady. She was forced to kneel before me. Biting her lip, she glared at me with hatred. So you're the one who put my child's prayer charm around a dog's neck? If your child meets a bad end, wouldn't that be karma? Her face paled, instinctively protecting her belly. I asked again, the dog Gu Yunzhou sent to the estate. You drowned it in the well, didn't you? She swallowed hard and stammered in reply, I don't know what you're talking about, madam. Trespassing. I can report you to the authorities. I nodded. True, but if this house was bought by Gu Yunzhou, that's a different story. Does an old woman have the right to reclaim the Gu family's property? Her face paled again, yet she remained stubborn. What about the Gu family's property? I'm carrying Gu Yunzhou's child now. Everything of the Gu family belongs to my child. So what if you're the madam? You're jealous, unfilial, and childless. Why won't you let me into the mansion? I took a sharp breath. How could I be the one keeping you out? Gu Yunzhou never mentioned bringing you into the mansion. The color drained from her face. Her eyes filled with disbelief. Don't try to drive a wedge between us. My husband wouldn't lie to me. It's you, this old hag, who won't let me in. I thought you were clever. Turns out you're this foolish. I overestimated you. You never stopped to think. You ruined your reputation and harmed his mother. How could he ever let you into the household? It's just about keeping the child and discarding the mother. To get a proper, highborn lady as his wife and snatch a son for her. You're not even worthy to be my rival. I came here for nothing. Surrounded by my entourage, I left with a cold laugh. After the young woman cursed, raged, and took 3 feet of white silk to force her way into the Gu residence, Gu Yunzhou was overwhelmed. He still sent the Gu family's second madam to persuade me to be magnanimous, to persuade me to turn a blind eye, to persuade me to let her enter in a small sedan chair first. But I used praying to Buddha as an excuse and shut her out. Locked inside, I sharpened my knife before the bodhisattva. How my dog died, Gu Yunzhou would have to avenge it accordingly to appease my anger. Thus, out of regard for our 15 years of marriage, I showed a sliver of mercy. The Gu family women, putting on airs as elders, were rebuffed. They started chattering away, listing all my faults, then finally dropped a don't regret it threat, and stormed off. Overnight, the entire Gu family was in an uproar. 1,000 days of filial piety go unseen, 1 day of a cold face, and everyone knows. They pinned labels of unfilial, childless, and jealous on me. They even issued threats. If I refused to serve tea and apologize, my name would be struck from the Gu family register. By acting this way, they aimed to make me feel guilty and cornered, forced to comply obediently and be manipulated at will. By then, whether a concubine or an illegitimate child would smoothly enter the estate. I never knew that the Gu family members who usually flattered me had such ugly faces. Not only did they forget my life-saving grace, but even while enjoying their current luxuries, they dared call themselves my elders to my face, demanding I kowtow, serve tea, and apologize. The shamelessness after affection runs out is even more disgusting. But I not only didn't stop it, I even fiercely fanned the flames, letting the memorials impeaching my general's manner pile up in the hall of mental cultivation. I was attacked from all sides, trapped in a dilemma. It seemed, apart from swallowing my anger and backing down, there was no other way out. That's when Gu Yunzhou appeared again. He brought the medicinal soup, pretending to feel remorse. Qingyan, enough of this. It's bad for your reputation. The general's manor has a century-old legacy. It cannot be tarnished by you alone. Give my son the status of a legitimate heir, and I'll let bygones be bygones. Oh, so the concubine is now a co-wife? The Gu family really goes above and beyond for their descendants, huh? He tried to argue. I slapped him backhanded, striking his shameless face. How dare you even mention the general's manor? Your shame and your vows of loyalty rotted away in that house on West Street. The lofty Grand Tutor, because of this sudden slap, instantly became furious. Do you think the general's manner today can still compare to what it once was? You put on this air of noble aloofness, playing the benefactor in front of me for a lifetime. Aren't you tired? I've already repaid you with my entire life. What more do you want? Do you truly want me to die without an heir? A man having multiple wives and concubines. What's wrong with that? If you were a man, you'd probably have a house full of wives by now. Yet you force me to be a saint. You're the one who's deviant, beyond redemption. From his bloodshot eyes and trembling hands, I finally heard his true feelings. Now that Ruawei is with child. Whether you agree or not, all children of the Gu family must be recognized by their ancestors. I didn't argue. Under his furious glare, I grabbed him by the throat. My hand gently stroked the cheek I had slapped red. He tried to pull away, but I, a daughter of a military family, gripped his collar, rendering him immobile. So, Lord Gu, have you forgotten the oath you swore in the palace? I think everyone in the palace still remembers it. You broke your vow. Heaven won't let you times. What if I demand it? Do you think His Majesty would agree? He was terrified and stunned, in disbelief. After all this time, my lord seems to have forgotten that I, Shen Qingyan, was never a kind soul. My father and brothers helped His Majesty ascend the throne. The Shen family, with our iron will. If we make a small request of him, His Majesty would not refuse us. The Gu family were originally disgraced officials. Everything you have now is due to the Shen family's protection and generosity. And which member of the Shen family, living by the sword, is a merciful bodhisattva? In my deep, dark eyes, all he saw was an endless expanse of ice and hatred. He never expected me to be so resolute. Even if it meant mutual destruction, I wouldn't yield an inch. He was stunned on the spot, but I grabbed him by the collar and threw him into the armchair. I shoved that bowl of medicinal soup into his hands. Don't force me to make your little girl lose 2 lives. He grew fearful. Clutching that bowl of drugged soup, he fled in a panic. From then on, he dared not provoke me openly. Instead, he plotted in secret to deliver a fatal blow, preferably in front of the royal family, so I could never recover. And that opportunity I obediently delivered right into his hands. Princess Zhaoyang hosted a poetry gathering. She invited Madame Lin, wife of the censor-in-chief, Madame Shen from the Duke's estate, and Madame Song, wife of the Grand Master of the Imperial Stud. The turmoil in the Gu household had spread throughout the capital. I became the most disgraceful mistress in everyone's gossip. They gathered around the stove to brew tea, ostensibly to comfort and console me. I remained expressionless the whole time. They also sent someone to fetch Gu Yunzhou and the other gentlemen. Before my tea was even ready, the door was flung open. Lu Ruawei dropped to her knees right in front of me. Feigning weakness, she wept. Madam, for the child's sake, please, let me. Mid-sentence, she froze. Because in this spacious tea room, I was the only one present. She had intended to make a scene before the ladies, using the child in her womb to pressure me and cause me embarrassment. She was dumbfounded, but under my mocking smile, she couldn't maintain the act and dropped the pretense. She sprang to her feet. You What's there to be so smug about? You're 30, past your prime, halfway in the grave. Yet you've committed countless evils, cursed with misfortune and a short life. It's no wonder you lost your father and brother, and your own son died young. Now, with that desolate general's estate, you have no one to back you up. At your age, you don't even have a son to mourn you. What right do you have to keep me out? She was hysterical. In her extreme agitation, even her hairpin went askew. I walked towards her, step by step. With a smile, I gripped her chin. As she shrieked, I straightened it for her. So, after 3 years as an outside woman, you finally want a proper position. You even staged a rescue, leaving the old lady paralyzed in bed, and you show no remorse. She's glaring at me. So what if I am? My husband trusts and indulges me. What can you do about it? A hen that can't lay eggs gets to have the Grand Tutor's residence all to herself. What gives you the right? I looked at Gu Yunzhou outside the door and asked with interest, Gu Yunzhou, tell me, what gives her the right? Gu Yunzhou stood outside the door, his face like frost. Qin Feng, who was with him, deliberately turned his head away, pretending not to see. The moment Lu Ruowei saw Gu Yunzhou, her expression changed instantly. Darling, she said she wants to kill me and my child. She said she'd rather die than let me enter the Gu family. Darling, I don't mind for myself. As long as you love and cherish me, I'm fine with anything. But what about the child? I've been a concubine's daughter bullied my whole life. I don't want my child to be worse off than me. He should have his own father, his own home. Gu Yunzhou gave me a deep look. Madam has worked hard for our Gu family, with great merit. How could you poke at her sore spot? Lu Ruowei, understanding the cue, turned her head and grabbed my sleeve. Sister, I was wrong. I apologize to you. I'll kowtow to you. As long as you. I merely pulled my hand out of her grasp, and she took the chance to fall, her belly hitting straight against the leg of the tea table. Gu Yunzhou rushed over like a madman, cradling her in his arms. A beauty's tears are truly heart-wrenching. Darling, it hurts so much. Sister didn't mean it. Don't blame her. She just lost her own child, and doesn't like the child between you and me. Please, don't blame her. It hurts. Call the physician. Quick, call the physician. She was so flustered, she thought she was the emperor, summoning the imperial physician. My sarcasm was undisguised. His disgust for me grew. I always thought, even if you pretended to be noble, or held your favors over me, you'd at least have the integrity of a general's daughter. But I never imagined you'd be more despicable than the women fighting in the harem. For my child, for the future of my Gu family, I will divorce you. Lord Qin hurried to intervene, but it was too late. Gu Yunzhou had already said his piece. The biggest regret of my life was marrying you. If the Gu family has no heir, you, Shen Qingyan, will be the greatest sinner. Childless, jealous, and unfilial. It's only right I divorce you. Lord Qin was hopping with anxiety. Watch your words. Be careful what you say. But I was straightforward. I pulled out from my robe the divorce papers I had prepared long ago. You're not qualified to divorce me. A mutual separation is your best option. The child I lost for the Gu family, consider it my retribution. But I'll be waiting to see yours. Thinking you can profit from my Shen family by divorcing me? The Gu family's schemes are as obvious as day. At this moment, Gu Yunzhou finally understood from my determination that severing ties with him and the Gu residence after over a decade of affection was not the Gu family's choice. It was my, Shen Qingyan's, calculation. The consequence of a mutual separation is that everything from the Shen family will be carried back to the Shen residence. By then, the Gu family will be left with nothing. His gaze darkened. The arm holding Lu Ruowei unconsciously tightened. Don't even think about it. Only I can divorce you. There will be no mutual separation. You lack virtue. Kicking you out is already being lenient. Suddenly, the screen dividing the other space was pushed aside. 2 tea rooms, left and right, were occupied by Madame Lin, Madame Shen, Princess Xiaoyang, Madame Song, and their party, and by Lord Lin, Lord Shen, Prince Consort Xiaoyang, Lord Song, and their party. Indulging a mistress to confront the lawful wife. Favoring a concubine over the wife even before she enters the household. Lord Gu has always been upright his whole life. Turns out he can't distinguish right from wrong either. Princess Xiaoyang pulled me to her side. That one, the moment she entered, hurled insults at Qingyan, and showed great disrespect to the general and his son. If I don't punish her today, mete out punishment, the world will think the royal family is heartless and unjust, forgetting the hot blood the Shen family has shed. Don't forget the Shen family's numerous merits for Dai Yue. Secondly, take her away and give her 50 lashes. Then throw her into the imperial prison to await his majesty's judgment. I've been his wife for 15 years. How could I not know his cunning and methods? He thought his plan was foolproof, like Jing Kei's attempt on the Qin emperor. But he walked right into the Hongmen banquet I carefully prepared. He wanted to make me hesitate, to grit my teeth and acknowledge his little girl in front of the censors. He underestimated me. Qingyan, what exactly are you trying to do? Our Gu family, for 15 years, has never treated you poorly. Do you really want to leave us without an heir? The second madam of the Gu family arrives just in time. You've been listening next door for quite some time. You must have heard how she slandered Qingyan, didn't you? Yet you let her stand before your nephew and twist the truth. Why didn't you step out then, to speak a fair word for Qingyan? Now, for the sake of your precious Gu family grandson, you finally show your face. Madame Shen is my aunt by marriage. When has she ever regarded the Gu family, who rose through a concubine's favor, with any respect? Even a second Madame Gu trembled with rage, clutching her chest. She showed no mercy. Had I known the Gu family's values and upbringing were like this, I should have advised old General Shen and young General Shen back then. Why suffer for such a family kneeling before the hall of mental cultivation for 3 whole days? If they knew from beyond the grave that such ingrates would bully their daughter and sister like this, even as vengeful spirits, they should take up their spears and make your heads roll. With every word Madame Shen spoke, Guyan Chou's face paled further. By the end, he dared not even lift his head. 15 years of peace for the Gu family, and he's already forgotten. He's forgotten the scene of his entire clan kneeling outside my Shen family gate, expressing their gratitude. Forgotten that lifeline offered in their darkest hour. Betrayal, bullying, even humiliation. This is the Gu family's repayment to me. Madame Shen took a written confession and coldly tossed it before Guyan Chou's eyes. Instantly, all color drained from his face. Conspiring with an outsider to scheme against your own wife. In all of Great Yu, I doubt you could find a second man as shameless as this. With such low character, you'd only corrupt His Highness the Crown Prince. Guyan Chou stood frozen in place. Unconsciously, his gaze turned to me, pleading for help, but I handed him the divorce papers instead. Sign it. As for her, the woman in his arms flinched as I pointed at her. Do with her as you please. He looked up and met my eyes. Those eyes that in our youth would sparkle with awe, shine when I agreed to marry him, and swell red after we lost our child. A year of deep affection. In those pupils, there was still hesitation and regret. But a man in his middle years is the same. Practical and clear-headed. He needs an heir. He also desires a garden full of flowers to fill his rear courtyard. Yet he's also reluctant to discard a wife of good birth, measured in her actions, who solves his troubles, and would be an asset to him. Does Qingyan have no other choice? I shook my head. What's done is done. This is the most dignified way to part. Lord Gu should know this. Even if you can't bear to lose the Shen family's influence, you should know my temperament, Shen Qingyan's, in front of everyone. To humiliate him by saying he covets my family's power, for the sake of his pride, he would choose to divorce. His pupils contracted. The beauty in his arms trembled. He finally nodded. Once signed, there's no regret. The Shen and Gu families parted ways. But what awaited the Gu family was ruin. The dowry from my father and brothers. The imperial rewards. Everything I've managed over the years. I took it all away. The world praised my unyielding spirit, worthy of my family's legacy. But the Gu family, with their flawed virtue, their life of luxury, suddenly became unsustainable. Even the Gu clan children, studying at the capital's academy, were sent back home, with no school to attend, and under public scrutiny. The grand tutor, who, for a tried to ruin his wife's reputation, was impeached and scorned, dismissed from his post and caned. That's when they remembered. Gu Yunzhou's position as grand tutor was granted by the emperor out of pity for my father and brother's sacrifice. Lady Gu cursed me as an ungrateful wretch. An unfed, ungrateful wretch. This is forcing my Gu family to no money, no livelihood. Such a large family can't survive even on porridge. Gu Yunzhou didn't dare say much. After the Gu family was confiscated that year, they were left with nothing. Everything the Gu family had later was given by the Shen family. Shen Qingyan never mentioned it, so they all took it for granted, thinking it was what the Gu family deserved. No wonder she schemed for a divorce. She wanted to pull the rug out from under them, to stomp the entire Gu family back to their original state, and then watch them live worse than dogs, even begging her for mercy. Gu Yunzhou felt a surge of rage. It's fine, in the West City, Ruowei has saved up many good things over the years. The Gu family won't be completely destitute. I don't believe that without him, Shen Qingyan can survive. If Ruowei insists on a proper wedding procession, what do you all think? The Gu family perked up instantly. She solves our family's crisis, and can bear the Gu family a legitimate heir. A proper wedding procession it is, then. It'll also be a slap in the face to Lady Shen. But they didn't know what it meant to seek their own doom. But when they took their meager belongings and headed to the West City courtyard, they found it already deserted. Even the entire compound had been sold off cheaply to a merchant for 1,000 taels. Lu Ruowei, to treat the scar on her face, gambled everything and used a potent medicine. This meant the child in her womb would either die or be disabled. Now, with the Gu family in ruins, they still expected her to use her savings to support the whole household. How could she be willing? She fled the capital overnight with her valuables. Unfortunately, her lavish carriage caught the attention of ruthless bandits. She was kidnapped just outside the city walls. The methods and tortures of the Blade Peak stronghold took only 3 days to turn her into a mutilated corpse. Well done, Xiaoxi. Father giving you to me was the greatest legacy he left me. Perhaps I was mistaken. My praise made the stoic Xiaoxi flush slightly. The next day, Xuanning and I sat on the veranda watching the boats. The Gu family has no hope of recovery now. Sister Qingyan is truly formidable. Formidable at what? A mere concubine-born daughter disposed of someone without a trace. Effortlessly. The reason it was delayed until now was merely to deliver the final, fatal blow to the Gu family. After all, the aphrodisiac she's been adding daily to Gu Yunzhou's teacup, combined with my tea, will ensure Gu Yunzhou truly has no heirs. I said it before. I lost a child for the Gu family. There's no way I'd let him step on my pain and have a house full of children and grandchildren. At some point, rumors began to spread through the streets and alleys. They said the main wife of the Gu family had no son, because Gu Yunzhou, during the family's hardship, injured his family jewels. It had nothing to do with Shen Qingyan of the Shen family. Gu Yunzhou couldn't stand such slander. In front of everyone, he went to find the best doctor. The result hit him like a bolt from the blue. Gu Yunzhou was fundamentally damaged. He could have no descendants. He didn't believe it. He sought out countless doctors in a row. The results were surprisingly consistent. Gu Yunzhou trembled all over. He fell to the ground with a thud. Everything he had schemed for his descendants was now a complete joke. He kept saying Shen Qingyan was barren. He kept treating his mere presence as a reward. In the end, the boomerang came right back and hit him in the chest. The Gu family, who had originally for the sake of an heir, abandoned wealth and status, and broke ties with the Shen family, were even praised by scholars for their integrity. Now, they ended up being the villain. Their future downfall would truly be trampled on by everyone. Even the Gu family members went their separate ways. They took what little silver the Gu family had left and returned to their ancestral home in Linyang. When Madame Gu heard the news, she was heartbroken. She vomited blood and died. How could someone as proud as Gu Yunzhou endure being cursed by thousands? He was like a stray dog, huddled in fear day after day. Yet people still chased him to mock and spit on him. The mental torture was far worse than physical pain. The once high-spirited Lord Gu was now haggard and worn, aged beyond his years. He suffered immensely, so he decided to head south, back to Linyang. Before leaving, he knelt outside the gates of the Shen residence. He begged me, holding a shattered jade bracelet and a pearl earring he got back only after having his leg broken. Every word soaked in tears, he listed all the ways he had wronged and betrayed me. Even more, my devotion to him and the Gu family's all-out dedication and sincere efforts begged me to give him a chance. It turns out that 15 years of dedication and devotion he was aware of all along. But when there was a more immediate option, he was completely blind. In the end, he didn't beg for my forgiveness, only asked to see me once, to personally apologize to me. A sudden storm made his frailty precarious. But I didn't meet him. After being abandoned by all, the prodigal son returns. I'm not his mother, won't forgive and tolerate, holding Xuanning's divorce agreement, preparing her luggage for her. Are you really going to Jiangnan? Why not come with me to Mobei instead? She shook her head. You uphold General Shen's legacy, I fulfill the widow's unfinished wishes. We're going in opposite directions. We should part with a smile. If you're reluctant, I should cry. I laughed out loud to myself. The banknotes I just extorted from the Gu family stuffed into her luggage, a girl's happiness and fulfillment, should lie in fulfilling herself. May your life be as splendid as flowers. May you live the rest of your life freely. Such a good girl shouldn't be anyone, a sacrifice for climbing the social ladder. She should be the free wind carrying the scent of flowers blowing to every corner she wants to go. On the 5th day of Xuanning's journey south, her treacherous husband, who's entangled with others, came to me. If Gu Xuanning admits her mistake, then apologize to Yuner by serving tea. I can let bygones be bygones, take her back to the mansion, give her the position of equal wife. Otherwise, given the Gu family's current situation, even as a concubine, no one would dare take her in. With a spear in hand, the one who was so confident beat him black and blue. Where did this mad dog come from? Dare to bark wildly in my Shen family. Not to mention Xuanning already signed the divorce agreement, doesn't want you anymore. Even if she hadn't signed the divorce agreement, I would make a scene before the emperor and plead for her freedom. Such a lowlife wants to see Xuanning in your next life. When I had the Linchuan heir thrown out of the manor, he was still shouting in disbelief. Impossible. She's just a mere concubine's daughter. To become the heir's wife was the luck of 8 lifetimes. How dare she refuse me? You're lying. I want to see her. I want to see her. After the heavy door closed, I packed my bags. I was going to the borderlands my father and brothers once guarded. Xiao Si stood behind me, lips pressed tight, a faint, almost imperceptible smile flickering in his eyes. I suddenly turned to look at him. Feeling smug, are you? He looked flustered. Behind my back, you broke Gu Yunzhou's arms and legs and threw him on a merchant ship. To have him fight beggars for scraps in the southern wilds, and live out his days in wretched poverty. Did you think I wouldn't find out? He hung his head, not daring to answer. You did well. You were one step ahead of me. For someone so arrogant, the best revenge is to take away everything he holds dear. He wanted 100 sons and grandsons? I'll make sure he has none. He wanted to rise high and stand above all? I'll crush him under my heel. He'll live worse than a beggar with all his limbs. That's too easy on him. A living hell is eternal torment. Day and night, from now on, he'll be filled with regret. Regretting how he ruined the wealth and status that were within his grasp. Swallowing needles every day, that's his true punishment. Xiao Si looked at me with approval. I poured cold water on him again. But you still went easy on him. You should have gouged out his eyes. A man that blind, what use are eyes to him? Then I'll hurry over and finish the job. Trying not to laugh, I tossed my bag into his hands. We're heading north tomorrow. Who has time for that?